Now, as the country grapples with the politics of coalition governance, KwaZulu-Natal's government of Provincial Unity, GPU, finds itself at a crossroads. The DA has reaffirmed its position for now. But DA KZN leader Francois Rodgers has warned that national developments within the GNU could force a rethink. What does this mean for provincial governance and stability in KZN? Well, Mr. Rodgers is on the line. Thanks for joining us. The DA says it is staying in the GPU. What prompted the need for you to clarify this publicly?
Good afternoon, Hugo, and good afternoon to your viewers. Look, our concern is, as we know in politics, every action has a reaction. So, we wanted to send a clear message out to our counterparts at a national level that, in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, the GPU may not be perfect, but it is certainly working. We have all our energies and all hands on deck to make sure that it works. And just to appeal that at a national level, the differences that have arisen, that some commonality and some common denominator get found so that we can have stability at a national level, which means at a provincial level, we can focus on ultimately what our goals are, which is building that capable ethical state, building a sustainable economy, creating jobs and dealing with poverty and inequality. Those should be our focuses both provincially and nationally.
Mr. Rodgers, how do you draw a balance between the needs of the national voter versus the needs of the provincial voter? Because if you talk about if there is instability in the government of national unity, it should impact the GPU. Now, you've talked about a working GPU, so obviously your stakeholder or votership in KZN is pretty pleased. But nationally, the picture might be different.
Let's also remember that we are in a province that is the prominent party is the IFP. We have the African National Congress, the NFP and the DA. Now, the IFP and the ANC are also role players at a national level. And political parties, although we might be in different spheres of government, are politically connected. And our concern and our worry is that at a national level, if there's no compromise and no commonality and a way forward, that ultimately it may well impact on the province of KwaZulu-Natal. That is our biggest concern. And as I said, our appeal is to our counterparts at a national level, all of the political parties, to find some common ground and to forge a way forward.
Now, what role does the budget and VAT dispute play in testing these coalitions, Mr. Rodgers?
Well, that's a very interesting question. We all know that the national minister sits with a budget deficit of around about 40 billion that needs to be found through further revenue generation. Now, if there is some compromise on the VAT, then we need to find other mechanisms to up the revenue of what VAT was going to produce. But ultimately, provinces have already received their equitable shares and their allocation for the 25-26 budget. So the problem now to meet the equitable share that's been allocated to the provinces lies fairly and squarely with Parliament and with the national government of national unity, so that we don't find ourselves in a situation where we can't meet the allocations that have already been made.
Now, from what we understand, you've drawn a line against dealing or working with the MKP and the EFF. Is this correct? If so, why?
Absolutely. I think, Hugo, that our policies and our political philosophy are worlds apart. There's very little commonality in how we want to achieve our objectives. We've been down this road before, and it's certainly not in the province of KwaZulu-Natal an opportunity for us to work with either the MK or the EFF.
So is there anything in particular that would trigger the DA exiting the GPU?
Well, as I said, and I've said it all along, political parties are one party. The Democratic Alliance is one party. We've made it very clear in the province of KwaZulu-Natal that we do not support any VAT increase. I wrote to the Premier when that was tabled in the fiscal framework. And I said, as far as the provincial mandate is concerned, please note that the Democratic Alliance does not support any increase in VAT. So again, what we're saying is it's critically important for role players at a national level to come up and find what is the common denominator. You know, I've been very clear to say, put egos and personal agendas aside. What is in the best interest of the country? Because ultimately, if decisions are made at a national level that may have an impact on the provincial level, it just really compounds the economic crisis that faces both national government of unity and also the provincial government of unity.
Now GPUs are not new to South African politics, but the GNU is. In months gone by, or years gone by, there have been continual conversations around GPUs not working. This seems not to be happening since the Government of National Unity. Has this been a positive move in terms of holding together the GPUs, Mr. Rodgers?
Well, that's a very interesting question, Hugo, but there's a reason why it's working. We took an approach in the province of KwaZulu-Natal after the last local government elections that we would look at partnerships between ourselves and like-minded parties. And we started with the Inkatha Freedom Party, where there were hung municipalities, and we decided let's form cooperation agreements in those hung municipalities to try and work with one another to find solutions to service delivery problems. So this is 5 years in the making. And then, of course, when it came to the GPU, after the last provincial election results, we were well ahead of the pack and that we'd already formed relationships. So it was very easy for us to sit round a table. We then brought in the ANC, the NFP, and we formed the Government of Provincial Unity, which was in fact established before the Government of National Unity. It's a relationship that is not always smooth sailing, but what we've found in the province here, Hugo, is that where there are differences, and there are differences, we sit round a table as political leaders and we find out what is the common goal, or what is it that we want to achieve, and we then try and resolve our differences in cabinet meetings, in provincial executive committee meetings, not outside in the media and attacking each other. We just, as a province, we have such a torrid history of political intolerance. I think we've learned the hard way, and we've certainly come up with what we believe is a solution.
I'm particularly impressed that you've talked about these successes that you've enjoyed as a GPU, the fact that you sit around a table and have these conversations. Now, how much can the DA leadership at head office, if you will, learn from this? Because they're taking the ANC to the Western Cape High Court around the VAT increase and the budget conversation.
My understanding, and I don't want to get into the dynamics of the challenges at a national level, I'd be swerving out of my lane and find myself in trouble. But my understanding is that the court cases are around the Parliament and the process that was followed to table the fiscal framework that it wasn't followed. So at no stage is the Democratic Alliance taking the government itself, but rather Parliament. And then on the other matter, the Democratic Alliance is challenging the legislation that allows the national minister the right to increase VAT unilaterally. So I don't think at any stage my understanding is we're not attacking the Government of National Unity or, in fact, the ANC, rather the systems that have led us to this point.
Mr. Rodgers, always good to speak to you. DA KZN leader Francois Rodgers speaking about the successes and key lessons that have been learnt from the GPU in KwaZulu-Natal.